Swami Kund, Radha Kund, Giri Govardhan ki jai.
Jai.
Vrindavan Dham ki jai.
Jai.
Mathura Dham ki jai.
Jai.
Navadvip Dham ki jai.
Jai.
Ganga Mai ki jai. Jamuna
Jai.
Mai ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Samaveda Bhaktavind ki jai.
Jai.
Nitai Gaura Premanande. Hari Hari Hari
Hare
Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga.
Hare Hare Bol.
Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Swami Dinamini. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Siddhartha Sri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Dinamini. Narayana Namaskritya Narunchevam Narotamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Vadirayat Nashtapayasva Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavata Uttama Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Hare Krishna, good morning. Please step my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 8, Text 26. So I'll chant it 3 times, and anyone who wants to chant after that, you know how it is, can do so. Name Sava Parayanti Brahman Asa Anasanad Ami Vipato Chuta Piyusham Tadvakya Abdi Vinishritam Name Sava Parayanti Brahman Anashanad Ami Vipato Chuta Piyusham Tadvakyabdi Vinishritam Name Sava Parayanti Brahman Anasanad Ami Vipato Chuta Piyusham Tadvakyavdi Vinishritam. Hare Krishna. Anyone who wants to chant can do so now. Hare Krishna.
Namne Sarva Parayanti Brahman Anasanad Ami Pibatochuta Piyusham Tadvakyabdi Vinishritam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Name Swaha Parayanti Brahman Anasanadhami Pivato Achyuta Piyusham Tadavakya Apati Vinisritam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Name Savaha Parayanti Brahman Anashanadhami Vivato Chuta Piyusham Tadvakya Abdi Vinishtam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
Name Sava Parayanti Brahman Anasanadami Vivato Chita Piyusham Tatvakya Abdi Vinishritam.
Hi. Anyone else? Okay. So word for word. Na, never. Me, mine. Asava, life. Parayanti becomes exhausted. Brahman, O learned Brahmana. Anashanat, Ami, because of fasting. Vibhata, Pibata, because of my drinking. Achyuta, of the infallible. Piyusham, nectar. Tad, your. Vakya Abdi, ocean of speech. Vinihishritam, flowing down from. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O learned Brahmana, because of my drinking the nectar of the message of the infallible personality of Godhead, which is flowing down from the ocean of your speeches, I do not feel any sort of exhaustion due to my fasting. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The disciplic succession from Brahma, Narad, Vyas, and Shukadev Goswami is particularly different from others. The disciplic successions from other sages are simply a waste of time, being devoid of Achyuta Katha, or the message of the infallible Lord. The mental speculators can present their theories very nicely by reason and argument, but such reasons and arguments are not infallible, for they are defeated by better mental speculators. Maharaj Pariksit was not interested in the dry speculation of the flickering mind, but he was interested in the topics of the Lord, because factually he felt that by hearing such a nectarian message from the mouth of Shukadev Goswami, he was not feeling any exhaustion, even though he was fasting because of his imminent death. In some editions of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the text of the last line of this, I'm sorry. One can indulge, thank you very much. One can indulge in hearing the mental speculators, but such hearing cannot endure for any length of time. One will be exhausted very soon from hearing such hackneyed ways of thinking, and no one in the world can be satisfied simply by hearing such useless speculations. The message of the Lord, especially from a personality like Shukadev Goswami, can never be tiring, even though one may be exhausted from other causes. In some editions of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the text of the last line of this verse reads, Anyatra Kupitad Vijat, which means that the king might be overwhelmed by the thought of his imminent death by snake bite. The snake is also twice born, and its anger is compared to the cursing Brahmana boy who was without good intelligence. Maharaj Pariksit was not at all afraid of death, for he was fully encouraged by the message of the Lord. One who is fully absorbed in Achyuta Katha can never be afraid of anything in this world. Oma Ginati Virandasya, Gyana Gyana Shalakaya, Shakshu Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale, Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantika. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Tapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Scha. Shri Rupa Sagajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Pitam Tan Sajiva. Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam. Sri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shabanu Sute Devi Panamani Hari Priye. Panchakalpatarubhesya Kripa Sundibhya Eva Chapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Sivachari Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirveshesha Sunyavari Paschatya Deshitarini. Mo Mahabharanyaya, Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya, Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gurachise Namaha. Ananda Lilamaya Vigrahaya, Imabiri Vacha Vishundarai Tasvi Mahaprema Raspadaya, Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste, Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste, Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste, Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste. Hare Krishna. So the translation again, O learned Brahmana, because of my drinking the nectar of the message of the infallible personality of Godhead, which is flowing down from the ocean of your species, I do not feel any sort of exhaustion due to my fasting. So this is the translation of a text this text is a translation from a message in this correspondence to Shukadeva Goswami. This is Maharaj Pariksit speaking. And he says, O learned Brahmana, referring to Shukadeva Goswami, because of my drinking the nectar of the message of the infallible personality of Godhead. Because of my drinking the nectar of the message of the infallible personality of Godhead. This is part of a sentence, but it is packed with so much conviction and so much happiness from Maharaj Pariksit, and so much he's feeling very fortunate that Shukadeva Goswami has come and is giving the nectar of the message, which means the feeling that he's getting, that Maharaj Pariksit is getting from hearing the message from Srimad Bhagavatam about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then he qualifies the Supreme Personality of Godhead by saying that he's infallible, Achyuta. And it is flowing down from the ocean of your species. Now, you can look at it in so many ways. You can look at it poetic. I mean, yeah, that's like, it's a very nice, poetic way of putting it. But it also can mean that Shukadeva Goswami is an ocean of knowledge. Because only an ocean of knowledge can give a person with an ocean of knowledge can give ocean of speeches. So that's another way to look at it. And that would be a correct description of him, because after all, Shukadeva Goswami is a pure devotee. And pure devotees, as you know, we're very much connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the message flows down from the Lord through them. They never take credit for anything that they do. But still, all of their activities and all of their speeches and all of their directions are flowing from the personality of Godhead. This is the position of Guru. Guru is representing the Lord. And it's just not a question of representing the Lord as a title, but the Lord makes it possible for the messages and the pastimes about the Supreme Personality of Godhead to flow through the lips, and many, many, many times of the gurus, or the person instructing, and many, many, many times, many of us can attest to the fact that it gives us a special feeling when it comes. Sometimes you can think, but how did the Guru, he chooses the right words to describe a situation, even when we've heard it before, and one says it, somehow it becomes all new, even though the matter itself is known. Sometimes we don't know, sometimes we've heard of it before, but the sweetness never goes away. That always is there one way or the other. That shows, you can work back to think, if it is like that, then how sweet the Supreme Personality of God himself must be. No wonder the gopis think about him the whole time, and every time they hear the flute, they're gone. They drop everything and they go to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the Lord is great. Understatement. Greatest of the greatest. That's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, O learned Brahmana, paying so much respect to Shukadeva Goswami from Maharaj Pariksit. Learned Brahmana, and the message is coming from the ocean of your speeches. And then, as we've known in the Shastra, many of you have heard about it, if not all of you, that when a parrot bites into a fruit, it becomes sweeter. Shukadeva Goswami His Siddha Swarup, the original form, is a parrot. She's Srimati Radharani's pet parrot. Mm? And so, what a person to choose to have to speak Srimad Bhagavatam, and what great fortune that the Lord paid so much attention to arrange for Maharaj Pariksit to have a very glorious departure from this world. So, this is what we're connected to. How fortunate we are. Hmm? So, in the purpose, Prabhupada is talking about from Brahma to Narad. You can't go wrong. Every time you hear Narad Muni, you know it's the best. Vyasadeva, an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the pure devotee and ocean of knowledge, Shikadeva Goswami. This disciplic succession, in other words, you can't beat it. In American language, you can't beat it. So it is not necessary to go through other disciplic successions. It's not necessary. And Srila Prabhupada actually he says we're wasting our time if we did something like that. Matter of fact, we don't know the connection so well. Brahma is from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, the expansion of the Lord himself. So definitely what's coming through them and what they've been taught must be the real thing. You can't go wrong if you give your heart and your mind to such nectarian messages from such elevated devotees connected, and some of them not only connected as devotees to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but some of them, one like in the case of Vyasa, he's actually an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there's no need to go anywhere else. The Achyuta Katha, the message of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the infallible Lord. And so Srila Prabhupada spends some times, and as he does many times when he gives purport, he will look at the other side and talk about what's going on with them and why you shouldn't waste your time with them. So he talked about mental speculators, mental speculation, trying to put two and two together. Oh, and by the way, the scientists are experts at that. They do so much speculating, assumptions. And when they write articles, they do say that. Starting with the assumption that so and so and so and so is like this, we would think that this path is what is going to happen. They're talking about material things now. You cannot speculate about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes they write with their material speculations, and sometimes they're wrong. But they will do research to try to find out whether what they've started with, which is called a hypothesis, what they started with is right or wrong. Right or wrong. There's no right or wrong when it comes to Krishna. Krishna's factual. Everything is a fact. That's why it resonates with most of us, even though we're in a conditioned state. So Maharaj Pariksit was not interested in the dry speculation from a flickering mind that would say one thing and then think, oh, another thing. And I see it all the time. Sometimes, one example, a little bit of alcohol is good for the body. Then somebody comes out and says, no, alcohol is not good for the body at all. And so then who to believe? One person says this other person says that. So many times. One thing is assumed, another thing is, then the opposite of it is also published. And so we're sitting hearing all of this. So that should have devotees come to the conclusion, these people don't know what they're talking about. And that's why it's called mental speculation. And I've been through this all the way up to the highest level they give us degrees. And here I am coming to Krishna consciousness, looking back with it and starting to laugh about it. If you don't know, find out from those who know. That's the best thing. But you don't start assuming just so you, and then they become like authorities. People believe them that they're the ones with the real knowledge, but they're actually speculating. So Srila Prabhupada says, don't waste your time with these dry speculators. Hear the nectarian message from the mouth of the pure devotee. And then the effect is having on Maharaj Pariksit. It's also very, very, very important. Maharaj Pariksit is fasting for 7 days. You can fast 2 days and you become very weak. Sometimes even the first day you become very weak. If you have a body like mine, that's what's going to happen. But Shukadeva Goswami is preaching about Krishna. Maharaj Pariksit is having such an effect from the preaching of the pure devotee that he's not feeling any exhaustion. Even though he's fasting, he's not feeling any exhaustion. And many of us, even at the level that we are at, if you are, I mean, me, it's like Kanishta, we can listen to the chanting of Srila Prabhupada all day and never get tired of hearing it. What does it tell you? Again, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and it's coming through the lips of a pure devotee. And so it goes not only to our ears, but it goes to our soul, and our soul gets excited about it. And therefore, it affects the body in that way that we never get tired of hearing. And even when we chant ourselves, I mean, at the level that we are, it's conditioned so still, we could just go on and go on and go on. So the mantra is Hare Krishna. So it makes a huge difference when we hear Krishna Katha from the lips of a pure devotee, or a person who is connected, being guided by a pure devotee. And that's our situation. It has a huge effect, Krishna Katha, on the hearer, if it is coming from a genuine disciple of a pure devotee or a pure devotee himself. So, for mental speculators, we can listen to them, and after a while, it becomes very boring. And if I could talk about my own personal life a little bit. So, my line of work was teaching in the universities. And the universities are typical of every time a new year, a new academic year is starting, there is some sort of meeting. And in the end, it's also like that. It's called graduation at the end of the year. So somebody is going to come give a speech. Oh, Lord. Be ready for it. Here it comes. So my speculation. I don't mind the advice that comes in every now and then, material advice, but to sit through it has always been very difficult for me. It's time when I became a devotee. And so I just fidget around, and then sometimes I would just, in my head, be chanting when all is going. Everything goes to one ear and out the other. So much speculation. And of course, they will play up the university also. And so much. You guys are fortunate to be here, and on and on and on and on. So much Gramya Kata. But we have to put up with it. Those are the lives now behind it. So, okay, anyway, so much about what I have been through. The message of the Lord from a personality, Sri Prabhupada says, especially for a personality like Shukadeva Goswami, it can never be tiring. And then Sri Prabhupada puts one line in the end because he knows that there's some Srimad Bhagavatams out there that for this particular text, the last line has been changed. Anyatra Kupita Dvijat means that the king might be overwhelmed by the thought of his imminent death by snake bite. But Srila Prabhupada refutes that also by saying that Maharaj Pariksit was not at all afraid of death. He was not thinking about his imminent death. He was thinking about Shukadeva Goswami, and he was very, very much in rapt attention for what Shukadeva Goswami was speaking to him. And this is the message for us, rapt attention. And speaking about that, there's one place in Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita, and Srila Prabhupada, you know that he goes for morning walks, so many recorded information that Srila Prabhupada was giving on his morning walk. People are asking questions and so on. And in this part of Lilamrita, Sattu Maharaj reports that there were about 5 devotees, not a whole lot, that went out with him that morning. And they were walking, I think it was in the California, I don't know the city itself that they were in at the time. So they got to a bench and they sat down. Now, he sat down at the bench. So the devotees came and they also sat down. At that time, they just, another bench facing him. So Prabhupada was erect. So all the guys also sat erect like that. It means they believed in Prabhupada so much, they were watching his movement, and what they could imitate that could help them, they did. That is total conviction, just like Maharaj Pariksit was totally convinced about what was coming from the lips of Shukadeva Goswami. So no, he was not afraid of death. some of Bhagavatam sayings that, he was thinking about his imminent death. That's why we're so fortunate that Prabhupada himself translated Bhagavatam and gave purpose to it, so that we get it right, get the right message. And so he says, Sri Prabhupada says, one who is fully absorbed in Achyuta Katha, messages, pastimes about the infallible Lord that can never fall. And when that person is so convinced about what the Chitakata is, the content of it, one of the effects is we can never be afraid of anything in this world. Achyutakata, Krishna Kata, tells us so much about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You get a sense, even with our tiny minds, of how, the fact that he is so great that if we just surrender to him, there's nothing to fear, because nobody can come to his level or give protection like he can. Therefore, yes, things are dangerous in this material world, true enough, for the physical body. But if we put our hope and put everything about us, this in him, and have him run every aspect of our lives by just simply praying that, Lord, you take over everything I do today, then there's no need to fear. But having said that, there are some things that we have to be cautious about as devotees. Now, but before we get to that, why no fear? Well, for one thing, the Supreme Personality of Godhead says, don't fear, just surrender to me. Sarva dharman paritya jamami ekam sharanam braja. Aham tvam sarva papi. He says, I will in fact deliver you from all sinful reactions. It's the sinful reactions that we have to pay for. Reactions from the things that we do that's negative. Keeps us in the material world. But he says, if you surrender to me, Krishna says, I'll even deliver you from that. So there's no reason to be worried. Just surrender to me. But he doesn't force anybody to surrender. You have to do on your own. And live like in this world, but not of this world, which means you renounce material things. And the more we renounce material things, the more connected we become to Krishna. So protection of devotees is very much on the mind of the Lord for those who are surrendered to him. And it's backed up in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1, text 19. Sri Prabhupada speaks a short purport here. He says, one who takes shelter of the Supreme Lord has nothing to fear, even in the midst of the greatest calamity. The greatest calamity is nothing for Krishna. Nothing is too difficult for Krishna to handle. Therefore, we may see some calamities as so great, but the Lord, for him, is nothing. We've seen example of some of the biggest demons that if they just move their little finger, they could kill us practically. And the Lord, he doesn't even make himself bigger. He's just the same size. And he would just whirl them around and kill them so easily. Things that so many people are finding difficult to do, he would do it very easily. So Krishna is the right way. Krishna consciousness is the right path. And then in Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, text 40, again, in this royal, Guru Maharaj calls it the royal path of devotion. He coined like that. And he coined the term like that. Royal path of devotion. And so in Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, text 40, Neha Bikrama Nashosti Patyaya Navidyate Salpam Apyasya Dharmasya Trayate Mahato Bhayat. In this endeavor, going on the royal path of devotion, there is no loss or diminution. Diminution means curtailing or cutting back. Everything that we get or we do in spiritual life is never lost or some of it cut back. It's permanently in our spiritual bank account, and it helps us to grow the next life from that point on. So a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. So here we go again. The Prabhupada says, just be connected to Krishna in surrender, and you'll never have to worry about any situation. The worst calamity, you don't have to worry about it. So it says, in this endeavor, there's no loss or diminution, and a little advancement. Everything that's done, everything, what little we do, we gain so much from it. A little advancement can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Again in the Bhagavad Gita, purport by Srila Prabhupada in the 8th chapter, Attaining the Supreme, the text 24. So it doesn't matter how a pure devotee leaves the body, he will go back to the spiritual world. Therefore, what we get from this statement is that we should not fear. We should be more focused on purification, being better devotees. Srila Prabhupada specifically says, for the pure devotee in Krishna consciousness, there is no fear of returning. Whether he leaves his body in an auspicious or inauspicious moment, by accident or even by arrangement, whatever it is, he's thinking about the Lord all of the time. The Lord is in his heart. Therefore, they go back to the spiritual world because all they're thinking about is Krishna. And Krishna says that without a doubt, one that leaves body thinking about me comes to me. So in our day-to-day activities, we should be very, very much concerned about how we lead our lives in such a way. It should be in such a way that we are thinking of Krishna, directly or indirectly. Directly is when we're hearing with our conscious mind. Indirectly is when we set things around us that remind us of Krishna, so that our subconscious mind can also pick up on it. Then you just covered, the whole day. Around you, in the rooms in your house, you should have pictures of Krishna that remind you every time you turn around. You've seen them so many times if it's there on the wall already, so you don't even think about it so much. But all of the time, the subconscious is picking it up, picking it up, picking it up, picking it up. And the subconscious does, in fact, affect the conscious mind. In the subconscious, there's so many pictures of Krishna in the mind. One will begin to think of Krishna and speak about Krishna more freely because the subconscious is loaded with so much connected with Krishna. So that's the advantage. That's the advantage. And that way, Krishna knows. Krishna never forced us. We put the pictures out there ourselves. So it means we want to be able to remember Krishna. We want to be able to see the pictures and remember Krishna. So it's a must everywhere. So use the intelligence. We all should use our intelligence to figure out where around us that doesn't remind us of Krishna, and try to do that. Bring Krishna there. So a person in Krishna consciousness is going to go back to the spiritual sky, back home. Therefore, the future, Srila Prabhupada says, the future of such a person is very bright. Yesterday in Harrisburg, we had a 9-hour kirtan. It was supposed to be 8 hours, but so many kirtanias decided to come that they stretched it to 9 hours, which was nice. Very, very, very nice. Very nice. And there were some new people that came. And we had a chance to talk with some of them, especially those from American background. What they do in the temple is just a picture, you go talk to them. When somebody who's Indian background, because somebody else talks to them. But so we had an opportunity to describe some things about Krishna consciousness to one lady in the mid-30s. Another one who was much older came from Ithaca, New York. 4 hours driving. And somehow they heard about the kirtan, and this guy came with his mother. The young man became his mother. Mother is not Krishna conscious. He's interested in Krishna consciousness. So he's gone to Denver. He likes to travel. So for him, driving was no problem. Anyway, they said they would stay in a hotel, and this morning they'll go. So the kirtan was yesterday. from 12 to 9. Now, the mother made one comment. She's never been to a Hare Krishna temple before, but she was so happy. Hearing the holy name of the Lord made her so happy. And of course, in Hainao Kirtan, one of the best kirtan is when they sing, and the best, Mudanga players and, experienced kata players, all of that happening. And the holy name was just, coming out so loud in the bodies. And it affected her very much. And because everybody was in such a wonderful mood, she began to make a comment and said, I've been received so well. Everybody that talks to her very nicely. But she herself carries a very nice mood of goodness. You can tell. Some people, you just look at them, they like that. But she was so, so, so taken by the positivity of the devotees. And so she's never been to Hare Krishna temple before. Her son is interested in Krishna consciousness. Her grown son drove her. And so, of course, with that, the mother is already convinced. So clearly, he's not, at the very least, he won't be in the way of her son growing in Krishna consciousness. He'll be very, very, very supportive of what her son is doing. So it's very, very important how we treat new people who come in. There should never be any anxiety. And if we do that, then we are actually hurting the very reason why Srila Prabhupada came. And we ourselves, if we want to get free from anxiety, then the best course is to understand Krishna, chant his holy name, and be always situated in Krishna. Where does fear come from? Fear is from our absorption in the illusory energy. When we believe something that Maya throws at us, then we become fearful. When we are Krishna conscious, there's no need to fear because Krishna protects. And the Paramatma sends messages, and Guru sends messages. Krishna arranges. And Krishna actually becomes quite patient with us too. And so many situations, I won't even get into too much detail about that. But it is true that when we get free from the illusory energy, by understanding that we're not these material bodies, and we are spiritual parts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we are engaged in transcendental service of the Lord, there's nothing to fear. There's nothing to fear because they are dangerous, for at least materially dangerous situations in the material world, true enough. But the Lord takes us through all of that. And even sometimes when reversals come in our life, still the Lord is there to have it be beneficial to us by teaching lessons from it. So we get lessons from our reversals, and the rest of it is all protection. There's no need to fear. So only one who is Krishna conscious has fearlessness. And more description of fear is actually in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Canto 11, chapter 2, text 7, and 37, and I'll go to the translation. So fear arises when a living entity misidentifies himself as the material body. Why does that happen? Because they are absorbed in the external illusory energy of the Lord. The illusion in this material world is, I'm going to be happy by my efforts. It does not work because the miseries are there. The miseries from the weather, miseries from other people, and miseries from our own minds. So the happiness is an illusory thought for the material world. This is jail. People don't get happy in jail. They just try to survive in jail. That's all. So when a living entity turns away from the Supreme Lord, then that person would forget their own constitutional position as the servant of a servant of a servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that's why Lord Chaitanya has said, I am not a Brahman, I am not a Kshatriya, I am not a Vaishya, I'm not Brahmachari, I am not Sannyas, I'm not, none of that. I'm just the servant of a servant of the husband of the gopis, Sri Krishna. So the fearful condition here is caused by the potency of illusion, Maya. Therefore, an intelligent person, this is still the translation of that Bhagavatam, it's a longer one. An intelligent person should engage unflinchingly in the unalloyed devotional service of the Lord. Mam Chajo Vyabhicharena Bhakti Yoga Sevate. Gunaya Samiti Chetan Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. When we serve without any situation that comes up blocking us, but we find a way around it just to keep serving, that person comes to that platform of transcendence. And the devotion becomes an unalloyed devotion to the Lord. So, Sri Prabhupada translates that therefore an intelligent person should engage unflinchingly in the unalloyed devotional service of the Lord under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, the representative of the Lord. And he should accept wholeheartedly the spiritual master, just like we accept wholeheartedly the worshipable deity. And the instructions from him should be, him or her should be his very life and soul. Now we have spiritual master Mother Narayani in the female body also. So that was him or her, first time in this kind of a while. So whatever the spiritual master says must be given immediate priority. This is how you serve Krishna. Just think this way. This is an ambassador from Krishna. If Krishna himself was here and told you, please do this, would you postpone it? I very much doubt it. Never postpone it. Therefore, we shouldn't postpone the things that the representative of Krishna also asks us to do, because that is a practice that indicates that we are serious about serving Krishna. So whatever the spiritual master says must be given immediate priority. And if he says do something and he tells you how to go about it, do it this way, you should. Even if the mind says that, but there's another way to do it. No. Don't even bring it up. Gumaj, can I try this? No. He says do this, you do it first. And if it doesn't work, then you go back and tell him that I've already tried it. It didn't work. And I was thinking this way. Maharaj, what do you think? And let him decide whether you should do it or not. Never impose. Because if you impose, then it's like you're going to impose on Krishna too, which means we're not understanding what devotion is. So it is a wonderful process, but we have to be sure about what we're doing so that we don't get into Maya, because Maya is always looking for ways. In one sense, it is good, because when Maya looks for ways and tells us where we're weak, then it means we have to work on that. And by working on that, we become purified. You don't know how to work on, we don't know how, we go get help. Open up to somebody that you can trust. That's been doing it for a long time. A senior devotee or guru. Tell them what the problem is. And advise you, they can advise you in confidence. Nectar of Instruction says to do that. So the word of guru should be the very life and soul. Srila Prabhupada started immediately when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj said, preach in the English language. He started with that immediately. He was in India. He was thinking, because Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj didn't tell him how. The few things he said, print books, when you get money, he did that. That's why we have so many books. That's there. So what Srila Prabhupada did was he obeyed Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj's instruction to the letter. To the letter. He thought that he had to make some good amount of money, then come to the West and preach, but he was thinking about coming to the West the whole time. And when things didn't work out that way, he finally just submitted to whatever the Lord wanted. Then he came, and it turned out that the intelligentsia did not want to listen to him. It didn't matter. Those that were downtrodden, but they wanted a different way of living, the counterculture. They listened to him, and he brought their minds to Krishna. And now, it's a society that's taking Lord Chaitanya's banner and preaching all over the world and chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And it's affecting the world in a very, very, very positive way. So we should not be fearful, but we should be cautious about a few things. And some of the ones that we need to be cautious about have already been summarized under a bunch of offenses, 10 of them, 10 offenses. So we should be very careful not to vilify or make a devotee look bad or upset a devotee by negativity from us. That's the first of the 10 offenses. If we want to chant the holy name of the Lord and get some real good feeling from it and get some effect and growth from it, then we should be careful of these. To understand, for those who are into demigod worship, Papa says it's not a good idea. In fact, in Bhagavad Gita says they have less intelligence. But we should also understand Lord Vishnu's position is not like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. It's higher. Lord Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We also, as the number 3, to obey the instructions of the spiritual master. So if we ever disobey the instructions of the spiritual master, that's saying to Krishna's agents that we would also disobey Krishna. We would disobey Krishna. We can't even think of it. But spiritual master is Krishna's representative. So if we can't think of disobeying Krishna, that would ever get into a situation that you can't believe we'd ever disobey Krishna, then we shouldn't believe that we would ever disobey Guru too. And so we have to be careful. We have to be careful. When one Maya brings up certain points, we have to be careful. But he's Guru. And he's saying, I remember one situation with Rompa Swami. Then we, in New Jersey, there were some things happening to Girinagri after my spiritual master left his body. So many, that's chaos was there. I went to him and described a few things. And he's a god brother who's also Guru now. His name I'm not going to mention. Then it makes too much because I would just kind of say something. This is in private. So I was talking with my Rompa Swami. And I said, I was told do such and such and such. And Rompa Swami did not think that it was a good idea. So he said, but why didn't you, and then he countered it with a different suggestion. Why didn't you do that? I said, but I heard it from, then I told his godbrother. But that it could have been this. I said, Maharaj, he's Guru. So the Maharaj looked up like that. I said, okay, that's my training. I can't disobey a Guru. So even if you think you have an alternative, do what Guru says first. I mean, I play safe. I don't fight Guru. Do what Guru says first. And if it doesn't work, then you go ask. I did this, I did this. I'm thinking this way. Do you think I should take that on then? So always get the permission like that. So yeah, so I told him about something, but the person that told me is a Guru. So okay, that was the end of the conversation because he understood that, there's other ways, but when Guru tells you, that's what you do. So when Guru says do something and he gives you the details to do it, then do that first. Do that first. And sometimes that's all you need to do and it's finished. And sometimes he'll give you instructions and they don't tell you the details on how to go about it. Like the way Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj told Srila Prabhupada to preach in the West. And he put it out as a general statement. So then the details are on you then, definitely. Either do it or find somebody who can get it done. It has to be done. That's all. And by the way, this second statement of finding someone to get it, if you can't do it and do it to the best quality, then you have to find somebody who can do it. Because this is Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, he told me directly, Gurus are concerned about what they're asked getting done. They know that it's not always a devotee that's going to be able to do it. But when they tell a particular devotee, that person should make sure it's done, either by themselves, if they can, or they can find someone who can do it well and make sure it's done so they can report back to the Guru and say, it is done. So Guru's statement should be our life and soul. very life and soul. Hmm? So these other things, when it comes to the offenses, we have, because those can actually spoil our attempt to go back to Godhead. The offenses. That's the one thing that we should be cautious about. As a matter of fact, we go out on a limb and say we should be fearful about. We really should fear offending other devotees, because that means everything we work for, all our austerities, getting up in the morning and chanting when you didn't want to get up, the body, all of that. You still not go back to Godhead or have another body only because of offenses. So offenses are the one thing, one category the Buddhists have to be very, 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 very careful about. And then the others are there, blaspheme Vedic literature and literature in pursuance of the Vedic version. We can't even blaspheme the Holy Bible. We can't. It has basic information, and what we have in the spiritual books that we have, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and so on, are at a higher level. Some of us started as Christians, so we know what's in the Bible. It's at a higher level. And some of the transcendental information is also in the Bible, but I couldn't tell at the time that I was Christian that was even transcendental. I had to come to Christian consciousness to go back to it and then find out the depth of some of the things that was in the Bible. But people are not, the reason why they can't take it to the degree that we have is because they don't live a life of renunciation. They don't. They're into sense gratification. If you not renounce, you're doing sense gratification, material sense gratification. And that can never make people grow like that. But still, what's there is the first step. Better we have that information, more to goodness, than have nothing. So these books give more to goodness. Without it, they'll be in passion and ignorance. So this book gives, so in a sense, they are also helping. It's a path, and they grow from it. So we can't blaspheme them either. And we shouldn't imagine things when it comes to the chanting Hare Krishna mantra. No imagination. It's Krishna and service to Krishna. That's the mantra. We can't give our own interpretation to it. And certainly we can't use, because of the power of the mantra, to chant and then be sinful, especially going back to the same sin that we committed before. So if I chant the mantra as potency and he will raise it. No, he says, Papa says it's the greatest sin. Don't use a mantra like that to counteract. We have to work on ourselves and be better people. And we cannot think of the Hare Krishna mantra as also one of those rituals, material rituals for material boons. It's not like that. And we also have to be careful when it comes to people who don't believe in Krishna. Preaching to them can be dangerous, because if they blaspheme, then you've caused them to blaspheme the Lord. But you can always give them prashadam, though. That they like. Let them have that. And then we also have to be quite careful when we're chanting and not get so attached to material things. We should use the material things to serve Krishna. They were already here before we came. The earth was here. And yesterday we were talking about it. One lady I had to preach to, and then another devotee I was talking to. It's so funny how the leaders of today, and I won't get into politics, but just how they are trying to vie for power and so on. Every single one of them was born when the earth was already here. And they're going to die and leave this earth. But in the meantime, they think they have some stake on any part of it. One of the other parts of the Shastra says, but the Bhumi just simply laugh at them. Look at these people. They're fighting for a piece of my body. And they're going on and killing each other for a piece. No good reason at all. Simple thing that you don't own this place. Everything is owned by the Lord. And even if you don't believe in God, the fact is you were born when the earth was already here. And you're going to leave when the earth will still be here. So how can you own anything? You can't. This is this simple, common sense thinking. But when people are just taken by these kinds of, I can make some money from here, I can make this and that. That's why the Papa says we live a life of renunciation. Then we focus on the spiritual. So there's no need to fear. The Maharaj Pariksit was not fearful about his imminent death at all. He was hearing, and as he himself said in this translation here, he was really, really, really getting in on the nectar from the words from Sukadeva Goswami's mouth. It's all Krishna Katha, Katha of the, Achyuta, the infallible Lord. Hare Krishna. Shira Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much for allowing me to go on and on and on about what's going on in this world. So the devotees, if you want to make some comments and share realizations, ask questions, please unmute yourself. Hare Krishna. So anyone?
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for a
Hare
nice class. I wait for that.
Oh, if
And
that's
then,
mercy, Guru's
and then
mercy.
I love to hear nectar from this Pariksit Prabhu.
Krishna's mercy, Guru's mercy. I just pray
No,
and then
I really,
use me.
even Wednesday, this weekdays, Wednesday, Monday, the Krishna Katha. Oh, I love to hear that.
Krishna Katha is wonderful.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's very wonderful.
No, but
So-
whatever the way you tell, I just really appreciate. And that is a nectar, I think, for us.
It's all by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga. It's all by the mercy of Guru.
And then seeing the Krishna, and I have most of the pictures, like that Radha Krishna, and then Krishna sitting and playing flute, and like all kinds of pictures I have here. Krishna Balaram, Chaitanya Prabhu, and all those pictures I have.
Yeah.
And Damodar I have here. Whole
They all
night.
help you to remember Krishna. Yeah.
Last night, whole night I couldn't sleep. But whenever I get up, I see all these Krishnas, and then I feel that, oh yeah, why fear when you are here? I feel all the time. But what I'm saying is that seeing the pictures, my mind goes again somewhere, and then sometimes I sing bhajans myself in the night, midnight. Like that, I feel. That is a good feeling, Prabhu.
Yeah. Because the name is spiritual. Therefore, when we chant, it goes right to the soul.
Yeah.
It goes right. And even when we chant out loud doing our japa,
yeah,
that also affects all the living entities, the souls of the living entities around us, even the ones we can't see, the germs, they all benefit. Jamtaka Swami was talking about it the other day. And that thought had come to my mind that if the soul has senses, the real senses are the senses of the soul. Because we perceive everything literally back in the spiritual world. So the soul has senses. We're just using material senses now, but the soul has real senses. That's what I asked Bhakti Maharaj and he explained to me. He said the soul has a real mind and real senses. So when we chant something that's transcendental, like the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, it would be picked up by the soul. It goes right to the soul. And since all these living entities, every one of them has soul, and the super soul is also present. So then it will be picked up by the souls in these bodies. That's why when we out walking and so on, we chant, the trees benefit, the ants, and anyone here, yeah, at the soul level. The material level, I don't know. I mean, we don't know much about what kind of situations are in these different bodies, but the soul we know is there. And it's Satchidananda, and the mantra is spiritual, therefore that connection will be made every time we chant.
Yeah, Parikshit Maharaj was very, very, he's very, I don't know how spiritual. He is very much lucky that he could hear from Sukadeva Goswami.
Absolutely.
And then the nectar, and then Prabhupada's nectar, giving lectures. Those things, I wish I would have born at that time.
You're still born at a good time, though, because you're hearing Srila Prabhupada.
That's true, but those nectar, oh God, whatever we are reading and whatever I'm listening, I always feel, I would have born that time. I would have
Guess what? Somebody else born earlier than you when Srila Prabhupada was not here, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur was here. I'm very fortunate, I heard from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So basically, the discipline succession, they all carry Krishna's message. But yes, we do need to give one situation to Srila Prabhupada because he opened the books written by Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, his spiritual master, and that's been described. We hear more from Srila Prabhupada's devotees that he carried those books with him and he opened and read them and used them along with his own leelas, his own memories, and his own connection with Krishna to write these purports. So when you read Srila Prabhupada's purports, you're literally hearing from Srila Vishwanath Thakur. Sometimes he just puts the name there. Vishwanath Thakur said this. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, how did he know? He read about it, and then he put it in, and he broke it down in simple language so we can hear. So this is the age that you're born, Mataji. So you're benefiting tremendously from that too. Even though, yeah, I can understand the point about Shukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Pariksit. You wish you were a fly on the
But
wall hearing
surprising
that.
thing is when I was there, when Prabhupada was in Puri, but I was in Cuttack, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But
It
now
was,
I
yeah.
know. Now I know, but I miss him.
Yeah. That's the feeling shared by so many devotees.
Yeah,
I was also in school in Boston, and at the time when I was there, I came to this country 2 months and 1 day exactly after Srila Prabhupada left the body. So, he left on, November 14, 77. I came January 15, 78. So he was already gone. But all through graduate school in Boston, I never met a single devotee. I didn't. So when I finished and then finally left Massachusetts and came to Maryland, and then that's when I ran into devotees of the Lord.
Now
So
I
in
listen
your own
every
time.
day. Every day I sit. I'm the first one to sit here to listen to Bhagavatam morning.
That's very good.
I'm so curious about that, and every day I don't want to miss that.
That's wonderful.
But I would have seen Prabhupada and then heard his lectures personally.
Yeah. So now you see how
we have recordings, but personally I missed him.
You'll see him again. It's only a matter of time. You'll see him again. We all will. We all will. Back in the spiritual world, we all will. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Please step on humble obeisances. Glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Oh, glory to Srila Prabhupada. I have a daily meditations calendar on my desk. Yesterday's reads like this: gratitude felt in the heart is good. Gratitude expressed in sincere words is better. Gratitude lived through tangible actions is the best. So everything that we are doing here is very good. Those of us who are just hearing it but letting it just go past that, that is good. Some of us are taking it a little bit more seriously, trying to understand. All of us are at different levels, but every one of us is in very good place. But where we should try to go is to try and practice what we have heard today. We have heard a lot today. Lot of things that we should try and practice. The one most important one you said is to be very careful, be very aware of not offending devotees. All that we are trying to do here today is towards one goal. And that one goal will not happen if we do this one thing. Yeah. I mean, you spoke for so long about all of this, but the enormity of it is in just one sentence. It's in that we are trying to do this, and we are not going to get there if we don't do this other thing of not offending. Yeah, that was just my realization today. But my question was, and this is again not a very intelligent question, but then the last couple of classes were about asking questions, so I will ask anyway. The last paragraph of the purport was, Srila Prabhupada says, in some editions of the Srimad Bhagavatam. What does that mean? Like, I thought Bhagavatam Sanskrit was, that's it. People have interpreted it in different ways. Or, understood it in different ways. But how come there is an edition of Bhagavatam that has different Sanskrit words.
It shows the extent to which Maya can go.
Ooh.
You would think, I understand the question. You would think, well, it is Bhagavatam. If people translated in different ways, as they did in Bhagavad Gita, nobody became a devotee from the translation until Srila Prabhupada gave Bhagavad Gita as it is.
Exactly.
But Maya would go to, Maya doesn't stop at any situation to say, oh no, that one, And I learned that when we weren't calling, the devil Maya when I was Christian, but we got a sense of it. But Jesus is held so highly. But when he fasted for 40 days and 40 nights, the devil came to him and tried to have Jesus submit to him and said that he would give. And it's like he came to the Son of God, the pure Son of God. So yeah, that test would go everywhere. So that's, yes, I'm also kind of surprised even that the Bhagavatam text line will be changed like that. But that's the extent to which things can happen. And that's why Krishna himself said, hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. When the religion is polluted, which means the religious books will also be polluted. And this is an example of it. I come myself to straighten out things. Like he does that himself, or he sends his pure devotee, just like in this case, Srila Prabhupada came, and he's pointing these things out. It's so important. When we read Srila Prabhupada's advice, that's there. We know to do what to do. But when he talks about these other things too, people are speculating and people are changing things here. He brings that so that we be cautious of it. So that when you see another Bhagavatam that saying that Maharaj Pariksit, he had on the back of his mind, Takshaka is going to come bite me. This is going to happen. How attentive could he have been if he was thinking about Takshaka? That alone defeats the hope. Papa just threw it out. So if you're listening to something and then you're supposed to be listening to something, you have your mind on something else, you're obviously not going to pick up much from the person that's speaking to you. You're not, because your mind is on something else. So that line had to go. It had been put there, and here's an arrangement. Sri Prabhupada had to correct it. Yeah, so unfortunately, that's why the books should be kept, not changed. So the books that Srila Prabhupada has written and the interpretations are wonderful. That's what we need. And it affects in our lives. We know it does have a great impact in our lives. So thank you for bringing up this point. Yeah, but Maya doesn't stop at anything. Like Gumaraj says, he's an equal opportunity employer. So doesn't stop at anything. Mother Hare Krishna. Mother Golokananda Priya Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you
Hare
very
Krishna. Accept
for your
humble
wonderful
obeisances.
class. And
Krishna's
one
mercy, Guru's
thing,
mercy.
I have one question. About talking negativity about all the devotees.
Yeah.
You mentioned it, but sometime recently, I was in a situation where like when people are like managing or something, people always had to say something. Sometimes they cannot go and tell the management only, but they just talk among the devotees. Is that also spreading negativity, or just
In general, if you can provide a solution to something that is negative, that's wrong, then obviously if you have to talk about it, because you're talking about it in a way to provide a solution to it. In other words, if you are ready to do something about some activity with the devotee that's negative, then bringing it out, and even that has to be done in a very, very mild way, not to offend the devotee. You're talking about people, and I know the way you phrase the question, people talking about others, situation among themselves. Even when that happens, in general, you don't. You talk about the positive things. But when that happens, there should be, along with that particular negativity, the suggestions for the positive thing to solve it. In other words, if you're ready to take action to solve things or go to the right person who can, in fact, change something that is bad, that's when you bring that things up along. So it should go along with the suggestion for change or for or the action for change. If not, then you shouldn't talk about it. You shouldn't talk about it because if you, here's what happens. If you talk about something that's negative just to talk about it, that's gossip. That's gossip. The news people already do a lot of that. Among the politicians criticize themselves. They don't do anything to change anything. So that's on the line of gossip. But when you something negative is said with the along with the way to fix that issue, mm, and action is taken, the action being trying to correct that situation or going to someone who is in authority or in position to cause a correction and suggesting to that person that this is going on and can he or she do something about it. Here's my suggestion for it. You don't even impose on that person. You say, this is my suggestion. But then you've done something about correcting something that's negative. But just to talk about it and leave it wide open-ended, that's gossip. Stay away from that. Stay away from that. And when somebody brings it to you, this is from Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj. When somebody brings negativity to you to talk about that, you begin to talk about the positive things about that particular devotee that's being looked at as negative. Why? Because we're all conditioned souls. There's higher nature and there's lower nature. It's not news at all. We're all trying to get improvement. So the more we keep negativity out of our minds, and if negativity is there, we have to do some action as part of our service to fix that, either by doing it ourselves or, again, going to a person that can, in fact, make a change for the better. Then we're helping. In that way, we're serving. But if we leave it open-ended, negative, just to talk about ourselves, then we're gossiping. So that has to go, according to my understanding, the way it's been taught to me. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, Babu, to put it in such a way. Sometimes, you really don't want to
Mm.
hear it, but somebody just come and talk about it, and you can help them. You can be rude to that devotee also. So, like you're put in like an awkward position.
Yeah, yeah.
Many time I try to talk positive with the person, but the person is being so hurt. He's not ready to listen. That
Mm.
the person is right. He's doing something right.
Yeah. Couple of things you can do. If, of course, you shouldn't be hearing negativity from other people in a gossiping type of way. But when you're caught in a situation that is difficult to get out of, and the person is saying those things to you, one of the things that you can do, one, if you have a good reason to leave to go do some service, bring it up and says, "Boo, I understand, but excuse me, I've got to go do so and so," and then you just leave that area so you don't have to hear it anymore. Now, if you're caught in that situation where you can't, and in fact, if you leave, the person will be offended because you left them, then turn it on them. Okay, I've heard you, Boo. This is happening, that's happening, that's happening. You can repeat the negativity. This is what I've heard. And then you ask them a question. What are you going to do about it? What can you do about it? Then now you put the person in a situation where they got to suggest something in order to fix it. And then you can hear, and through when you hear, and you could also be praying in the background, Krishna, give me some, Gurudev, Lord Chaitanya, please give me some suggestions to give to this particular person. But you put it on them. What can you do? What can you do to solve it? All right, I agree with you. It's wrong, but this person would be benefited wonderfully if he did something right or if he changed it. So what do you think of suggestion? Now that you brought this stuff up, what's the suggestion to make it right? And you start a conversation like that. So they leave thinking first you heard them, but they also leave thinking that I have to be the solution, not the spreader of the problem, but the solution to it. So I also should think that way. And if they know that they just want to keep on gossiping, but when they come to you, you're going to put them on a spot where they have to try to fix it. They might not come to you with their gossip anymore. because they're uncomfortable with coming up with solutions, then they say that stops it. That can stop it too. But yeah, I put them on the spot and in terms of what can you do to change it. But as soon as you believe it and leave it open like that, then you've also been part of the gossip. That's not good at all. And that's the first offense. Good. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yesterday I felt about your Kirtan, Prabhu. I just wanted to come there, but there was no way for coming there.
But your mind was there.
My mind was there.
Mind was there.
Ask
And
my daughter.
electronics giving it to you.
I was bugging her, and I wish I would have gone there and sat in
my
the Kirtan.
all the way from Montreal came there. The
Yeah,
friend.
Oh, people came. Yeah. People came. We said, that's Krishna's mercy. And this is the first one, I think. Yeah, well, since we have new deities, Sishinita, Gorachandra, so much mercy is coming. So much mercy is coming to them.
I missed that. Missed that.
Yeah. Well, one
But
day.
my mind was there, Prabhu.
Yes.
All the time I was thinking. And
Yeah.
I told my daughter, and I wish I would have gone. But she went she took their field trip or something. They went.
There'll be other ones, I'm sure, even at Philadelphia, and then we will come. I also want to come to Philadelphia for a program, a similar program like that. Yeah, it's very nice. At the end, if I don't mind, you don't mind my saying, at the end I made a comment. The temple president was my wife. She was not ready to speak at that. I don't know. I looked at her and says, I'm not speaking. So then I started thanking everybody and I said, well, it's been a very nice kirtan, and it was so sweet. Some of you are demigods, but you didn't want us to know that you were demigods. You're among us. They all started laughing. But I said, it does happen sometimes when it's so sweet. The demigods come in disguise.
That's true.
Yeah, because people are traveled, so nobody knows everybody, so they can come like that and be in the middle of it. Rathiyatas, it happens quite a bit, but that's another story for another time. Hare Krishna.
I wish next time I will see.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I think the sweetest thing I heard at the end was that you want to come to Philadelphia, and I pray that Krishna will make that happen.
That's true.
And
That's
that we
true.
have a nice kirtan here also.
I think, it's my family sometimes, but now my wife is saying, because of course I was medically challenged for a while, but my situation is stable enough now. And so the family is saying, all right, as long as one of the daughters comes along, and one of them will be always willing to come. So now I know I can come because I'm restricted from lifting things.
We look forward for that.
Okay. tell your management and set a date, and we'll see. Harrisburg, if they can release me, and I'm sure they can, then we'll go. Then we'll come. Yeah, I like to come to Philadelphia too. All right then.
Yeah, I don't see any other hands up, so we can.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa
Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All right. Until we meet.
Thank you.
Online, but we'll meet in person at some point. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Bhava Srila Prabhupada. Jai.